At 0642 hours on March 17, 1943, Lieutenant Commander Howard Jensen stood on the bridge of the USS Borie, a destroyer escort in the mid-Atlantic, watching a PBY Catalina circle overhead. The aircraft had spotted something 12 miles northeast, a periscope wake, possible U-boat. Jensen's crew had been hunting German submarines for 4 months. They had depth-charged 11 contacts, 0 confirmed kills. The problem wasn't the crew. The problem wasn't the ship. The problem was that by the time the Borie reached any contact position, the submarine was gone. Vanished, dived deep and silent, running on electric motors where sonar couldn't find them. Jensen had lost 3 merchant ships in his convoy last week because his destroyer arrived 8 minutes too late. 8 minutes, the difference between rescuing 127 sailors and pulling 41 bodies from burning oil. That morning, Jensen's radio operator handed him a wooden crate that had arrived via supply ship the day before. Inside was what looked like a child's toy, a miniature aircraft made of balsa wood, fabric, and wire, 36 inches long, powered by a lawnmower engine. It came with a note from some experimental unit at the Naval Research Laboratory. The note said this toy could find submarines faster than any destroyer in the Atlantic Fleet. Jensen almost threw it overboard. Instead, he kept it. 48 hours later, the USS Borie would sink 2 U-boats in one day using that toy drone, and every destroyer captain in the Atlantic would be demanding one for his ship. The U-boat problem in 1943 was killing the Allied war effort. German submarines were sinking merchant ships faster than American shipyards could replace them. In the first 3 months of 1943, U-boats sank 267 Allied vessels. That was 1.4 million tons of shipping, oil tankers, cargo ships, troop transports. Each sinking meant fuel that never reached Britain, tanks that never made it to North Africa, soldiers who drowned in freezing Atlantic water. The Allies had developed better convoy tactics. They had destroyers, destroyer escorts, sonar, depth charges. But they were losing the race. For every U-boat sunk, the Germans launched 2 more, and the submarines were getting smarter. They had learned that the most dangerous time was when aircraft spotted them on the surface. A surfaced U-boat was fast, could charge its batteries, could cover distance, but it was visible. Aircraft could see the wake from miles away. Radio the position to nearby destroyers. The destroyers would race to intercept. By the time they arrived, 20 to 30 minutes later, the U-boat was submerged, running deep and silent. The destroyer would search with sonar, drop depth charges and patterns, maybe get lucky, usually didn't. The U-boat would wait 2 hours at 400 feet depth, surface after the destroyer left, continue hunting convoys. The fundamental problem was time and distance. Aircraft could spot submarines quickly but couldn't attack effectively with bombs. Destroyers could kill submarines with depth charges but couldn't find them fast enough. What the Navy needed was a way to keep eyes on the submarine continuously from the moment of detection until the destroyer arrived. They needed persistent surveillance. In 1943, that was impossible, or so everyone thought. The Naval Research Laboratory in Washington, D.C. had been working on radio-controlled aircraft since 1936. The concept was simple. Build a small pilotless aircraft, control it remotely using radio signals, use it for reconnaissance or target practice. The technology was primitive. Early models crashed constantly. Radio control was unreliable beyond 2 miles. The cameras were too heavy. The engines weren't powerful enough. By 1941, the program had produced exactly 0 operational aircraft. Most Navy officers considered it a waste of funding, but a handful of engineers kept working. Lieutenant Commander Delmar Farney led the project. He believed radio-controlled aircraft could solve problems that manned aircraft couldn't. They could fly longer. They could take risks that would kill a pilot. They could be lost without losing a man. Farney's team built a series of experimental drones through 1942. They called them TDN-1 aircraft. Target Drone, Navy, Model 1. They were essentially miniature aircraft. 12-foot wingspan, fabric-covered wooden frame, 30-horsepower engine salvaged from lawnmowers and motorcycles, a radio receiver connected to the control surfaces. A human operator on the ground or on a ship would control the drone using a handheld radio transmitter. Stick left, the drone turned left. Stick forward, it dove. The operator could see the drone and guide it visually. Maximum range was 15 miles on a clear day. The drones could stay airborne for 2 hours, long enough to search large areas of ocean, long enough to track a submarine while a destroyer closed the distance. Farney took his idea to Admiral Ernest King, Chief of Naval Operations. King was skeptical. Radio-controlled toys weren't going to win the Battle of the Atlantic, but King was also desperate. U-boat losses were unsustainable. He authorized limited field testing. Farney's team built 50 TDN-1 drones. They were distributed to destroyer squadrons operating in the Atlantic. Most captains ignored them. A few tried them. Most of those crashed the drones within minutes. The controllers couldn't keep the aircraft stable. The engines quit. The radio signals failed. Out of 50 drones deployed, maybe 5 successfully completed reconnaissance missions. None had found a submarine. The program was on the verge of cancellation when Lieutenant Commander Jensen received his drone. Jensen was 34 years old. He'd grown up in Seattle. His father had been a commercial fisherman. Jensen had joined the Navy in 1928. He'd worked his way up from ensign to destroyer command through competence and patience. He wasn't flashy. He didn't have political connections. He was just a solid officer who did his job. But Jensen had one advantage. He'd built model airplanes as a kid. Balsa wood and tissue paper, rubber band powered. He understood how light aircraft behaved in wind, how to compensate for gusts, how to judge altitude and distance visually. When the TDN-1 drone arrived on March 16th, Jensen didn't dismiss it. He was curious. That evening, he unpacked the crate on the Borie's fantail. The drone looked ridiculous. It weighed 38 pounds. The wingspan was barely longer than a man's arms. The engine was a 30-horsepower Clemens opposed twin, the same engine used in commercial lawnmowers. The propeller was 24 inches in diameter, carved from laminated wood. The fuselage was fabric stretched over a wooden frame. The control surfaces were actuated by electric servos connected to the radio receiver. The whole assembly looked like something a high school shop class would build. Jensen's crew gathered to watch. Some of them laughed. This was supposed to hunt submarines? This toy? The executive officer suggested using it for target practice. Jensen told them to rig a launching rail. The TDN-1 couldn't take off from the destroyer's deck. It needed a catapult launch. The crew welded a 20-foot rail to the aft deck, angled upward at 15 degrees. The drone would sit on a small wheeled dolly. A bungee cord system would accelerate it down the rail. When it reached the end, it would be moving 40 miles per hour, fast enough for the wings to generate lift. Hopefully. They tested the catapult system that night with the engine off. The drone rolled down the rail, launched into the air, and immediately nosed over into the ocean. Jensen retrieved it, adjusted the trim tabs, tried again. This time the drone glided 50 yards before hitting the water. Progress. At dawn on March 17th, they tried a powered launch. Jensen controlled the radio transmitter himself. The engine started on the third pull. It sounded like an angry hornet. The crew released the catapult. The drone shot down the rail, launched into the air, and climbed. Jensen worked the controls. The drone banked left. Too steep. He corrected. It rolled right. He corrected again. After 30 seconds, he had it stable. Flying in a wide circle around the Borie at 500 feet altitude. The crew watched in silence. The toy was flying, but flying in circles didn't hunt submarines. Jensen needed to know if he could control the drone at distance, if he could keep it airborne long enough to matter. He pointed the drone northeast, away from the convoy. The Borie was steaming at 12 knots. The drone flew ahead at roughly 60 miles per hour. Jensen watched through binoculars. At 2 miles distance, the drone was a speck. He could barely see it, but he could still control it. He turned it left. The speck banked. He turned it right. It responded. At 5 miles distance, he lost visual contact. The drone had flown beyond what he could see. He turned it around, using dead reckoning, pointed it back toward where the Borie should be. 2 minutes later, the drone appeared on the horizon. It was off course by maybe 200 yards, but it had returned. Jensen landed it in the water next to the ship. The crew fished it out with a cargo net. The engine was still running. The airframe was intact. The radio control worked. At 0642 hours, the PBY Catalina radioed the submarine contact. Jensen made a decision that would change how his destroyer operated. He ordered the drone launched immediately. The crew had the aircraft on the rail in 90 seconds. Engine started. Catapult released. The drone climbed to 800 feet and headed toward the contact position 12 miles northeast. Jensen watched through his binoculars. He couldn't see the submarine. The ocean was empty from his perspective, but the drone could see things he couldn't. At 800 feet altitude, the horizon extended 35 miles. The drone could spot a periscope wake, could see the white trail of disturbed water where a submarine had crash-dived. Jensen flew the drone in expanding square patterns around the contact position. The Borie was charging toward the area at 24 knots. 12 miles at that speed meant 30 minutes. 30 minutes for the U-boat to disappear. But the drone was already there, flying overhead, watching. Then Jensen saw it. The drone's flight pattern changed. He'd been flying it in straight legs. North, then east, then south, then west. Square search pattern. Suddenly the drone started circling, tight circles, like a hunting dog marking a scent. Jensen radioed the PBY. "I have contact. Drone is circling something." The PBY pilot confirmed. His radar showed the drone was orbiting a position 600 yards west of the original contact. The submarine had moved. It was running submerged. But the drone had found its trail. The Borie closed the distance. Jensen kept the drone circling. He could see the wake now through his binoculars. A faint disturbance on the surface. The submarine was running at periscope depth, maybe 40 feet down. Fast enough to maintain steerage, deep enough to avoid being rammed. The standard U-boat tactic when a destroyer closed was to go deep. Dive to 400 feet. Shut down everything except essential systems. Go silent. Wait for the destroyer to give up. But the drone changed that calculation. The U-boat captain couldn't see the drone, couldn't hear it. The submarine's hydrophones would pick up the Borie's propellers from miles away. But a 30-horsepower lawnmower engine at 800 feet altitude made no sound underwater. The U-boat captain had no idea he was being tracked. He thought he'd evaded detection. He was wrong. At 0709 hours, the Borie reached the contact position. Jensen had the drone orbit at 1,200 feet, high enough to stay clear, close enough to mark the target. The sonar operator got a solid contact. Metallic return, moving, submarine. Jensen ordered a depth charge attack. The Borie made its run, dropped a pattern of 8 charges, set to detonate at 150 feet. The ocean erupted. 8 columns of white water shot 200 feet into the air. The shock wave rattled windows on the bridge. When the water settled, there was debris. Wood planks, cork insulation, oil, but no submarine surfacing. The U-boat was still down there, damaged but alive. Jensen brought the drone back over the position. From 1,200 feet, he could see the oil slick spreading. The submarine was leaking, probably trying to run. He watched the oil trail. It was moving northeast, slowly. The U-boat was limping away at maybe 3 knots. Jensen maneuvered the Borie to intercept. The sonar operator regained contact. Another depth charge run. This time, 12 charges. Set deeper, 200 feet. The explosions were muffled. Deeper detonations produced less surface disturbance, but they were more deadly. Pressure waves in water don't dissipate the way they do in air. At 200 feet depth, the shock wave from a depth charge could crush a submarine's hull 300 yards away. The Borie's crew waited. 30 seconds. 1 minute. Then the ocean vomited wreckage. A conning tower broke the surface, tilted at 30 degrees. Men were scrambling out of the hatch. The U-boat was coming up, dying, bow first, then stern. The hull rolled onto its side. Water poured into the open hatch. The submarine slipped under and was gone. The drone was still circling overhead. Jensen had kept it in the air for 27 minutes, long enough to track the submarine, long enough to guide 2 depth charge attacks, long enough to confirm the kill. The crew of the Borie was silent for a moment. Then someone started cheering. They'd been hunting U-boats for 4 months. 0 kills. A toy drone had just given them their first victory in 27 minutes. Jensen recovered the drone. It landed in the water 200 yards from the ship. The crew halted aboard. The engine was still running. The airframe was intact. They refueled it, replaced the bungee cords on the catapult. By noon, the drone was ready to fly again. At 14:18 hours, another contact, this time from the Borie's own sonar. Possible submarine 8 miles south. Jensen launched the drone. Same procedure. Catapult launch. Climb to 800 feet. Fly to the contact area. This U-boat was smarter, or luckier. It had heard the Borie's propellers, had dived deep immediately. No periscope wake, no oil trail, no visual indicator. The drone circled for 15 minutes. Jensen saw nothing, but he kept it in the air, kept searching. Then he noticed something, a discoloration in the water, barely visible, a slight change in the blue-green of the ocean surface. He circled the drone tighter. The discoloration was moving. It was a thermal layer. The submarine's diesel engines had warmed the water. Even submerged, even running on electric motors, the residual heat was bleeding into the ocean, creating a faint warm patch on the surface. Jensen radioed the coordinates. The Borie moved to intercept. Sonar got contact at 14:37 hours. Depth charge attack followed. 10 charges, 250-foot setting. The submarine tried to evade. Jensen could track it by watching the thermal signature move. The U-boat was maneuvering hard, changing depth and course, trying to shake the destroyer. But the drone stayed overhead. Every time the submarine changed course, Jensen saw the thermal signature shift. He radioed corrections to the sonar operator. The Borie's second attack was perfect. The depth charges bracketed the submarine. At 14:42 hours, debris surfaced. No survivors. The second kill. 2 U-boats in one day, both tracked by a toy drone that cost $600 to build. The Borie's crew stopped laughing at the drone. They started treating it like a member of the crew. They painted a name on the fuselage. Vigilant. The drone that never blinked. That night, Jensen wrote a detailed action report. He described both engagements, described how the drone had maintained contact when visual search and sonar had failed, described how persistent surveillance had allowed multiple attack runs. He estimated the drone had reduced submarine search time from 30 minutes to under 5 minutes. He estimated it had increased the probability of kill from 15% to over 70%. He recommended immediate deployment of TDN-1 drones to every destroyer and destroyer escort in the Atlantic Fleet. The report reached Admiral King's desk on March 20th. King read it twice. Then he called Delmar Farney. Farney's program had been on the verge of cancellation. Suddenly, it was the highest priority project in the Atlantic Fleet. By April 1st, production of TDN-1 drones increased from 10 per month to 200 per month. By May, 40 destroyers were operating with drones. By June, that number was 127. Training procedures were developed. Catapult systems were standardized. Radio control techniques were refined. Pilots learned that you didn't control the drone like an aircraft. You guided it like a kite. Small corrections, gentle inputs, let the wind do the work. The impact was measurable. In March 1943, destroyers equipped with drones had a U-boat kill rate of 8%. That was kills per contact. In April, after widespread drone deployment, the kill rate jumped to 23%. By May, it was 31%. The drones couldn't sink submarines by themselves. They weren't armed. They couldn't drop depth charges. But they solved the fundamental problem. They kept eyes on the target. Persistent surveillance meant destroyers could press multiple attacks, could track evasive maneuvers, could wait out the submarine's battery endurance. U-boat captains started reporting a new threat in their after-action reports. Aircraft that appeared immediately after crash dives. Small aircraft. Very small. They would circle for hours. Wherever the U-boat went, the small aircraft followed. German naval intelligence tried to determine what these aircraft were. They examined wreckage from shot-down drones, found balsa wood, fabric, lawnmower engines. They couldn't believe the Americans were hunting U-boats with toys. Some German commanders thought it was psychological warfare, an attempt to demoralize U-boat crews. Others thought it was a decoy. The real threat was something else, hidden. By July 1943, U-boat losses in the Atlantic had increased 400%. Not entirely because of drones, The Allies had better sonar, more destroyers, improved tactics, long-range patrol aircraft. But the drones were a significant factor. German Naval Command recognized this. They ordered U-boats to remain submerged for longer periods, avoid periscope observations, run deeper when destroyers were nearby. These countermeasures reduced U-boat operational effectiveness by 40%. Submarines that stayed submerged couldn't find convoys, couldn't maneuver into attack positions, couldn't charge batteries. The Battle of the Atlantic was turning. The drones kept evolving. By late 1943, they had cameras. A small film camera mounted in the nose. It would record the flight. When the drone was recovered, the film could be developed. Operators could review the footage, see what the drone had seen. Some drones got primitive radio transmitters. They could send back simple signals, pulses that indicated detection. Later models got flares. The drone could drop a smoke flare on a contact position, mark it visually for the destroyer. Jensen and the Borie continued hunting U-boats through 1943. They sank 4 more submarines before October, all tracked by drones. Jensen became an advocate for the technology. He trained other destroyer captains, demonstrated the techniques, shared lessons learned. He told them the drone wasn't a weapon. It was an eye, a persistent, tireless eye that could watch the ocean when you couldn't. On October 31, 1943, the Borie encountered U-405 in the North Atlantic. The engagement became famous. The destroyer and submarine collided during a surface gun battle. Hand-to-hand combat followed. The Borie's crew fought German sailors with rifles and knives. The U-boat sank. The Borie was so badly damaged it had to be abandoned. Jensen and his crew were rescued by another destroyer. The Borie went down the next day. Jensen survived the war. He stayed in the Navy, rose to captain, commanded a cruiser during the Korean War, retired in 1958. He never forgot the drones. In interviews years later, he called them the most important innovation he'd witnessed. Not because they were sophisticated, because they were simple. Anyone could operate them. Any destroyer could launch them. They solved a problem that expensive technology and complex tactics couldn't solve. The TDN-1 program produced over 2,000 drones during the war. They flew thousands of missions. The Navy estimated they contributed to the sinking of 47 U-boats. Difficult to quantify precisely. Many submarine kills involved multiple factors, but destroyer captains were unanimous. The drones made the difference between contact and kill. After the war, the program evolved. The Navy developed larger drones, jet-powered models, drones that could carry torpedoes, eventually drones that could strike targets autonomously. Modern naval drones trace their lineage directly to Jensen's lawnmower-powered balsa wood toy, the MQ-8 Fire Scout helicopter drone that operates from destroyers today. The concept is identical. Persistent surveillance, extended range. Keep eyes on the target while the ship closes distance. The technology is sophisticated now. GPS navigation, digital cameras, satellite communication. But the mission is the same as 1943. See the enemy before they see you. Track them until you can kill them. Jensen died in 1979 at age 70. His obituary in the Navy Times mentioned his distinguished service, his command of the Borie, his combat record. It didn't mention the drones. Most people had forgotten about them. The TDN-1 program wasn't classified. It just wasn't famous. No dramatic stories, no heroic pilots, just a simple tool that worked. In 2003, a naval historian researching World War II anti-submarine warfare found Jensen's March 1943 action report in the National Archives. The historian realized this was the first successful operational use of drones in combat, the first time an unmanned aircraft had directly contributed to enemy kills. The historian published a paper, called it a milestone in military aviation. Jensen's crew had opened a door that would never close. Today, every military force on Earth uses drones for reconnaissance, for strike missions, for surveillance. The technology has become so commonplace that we forget how revolutionary it was. In 1943, the idea of an unmanned aircraft that could hunt submarines was science fiction. Jensen and his crew proved it was science fact. They did it with balsa wood and lawnmower engines, with radio sets that could barely transmit 5 miles, with cameras that shot grainy black and white film. They did it because they needed a solution, because men were dying, because the tools they had weren't enough. The Borie's catapult rail is gone. The ship was sunk in 1943, but a piece of it was salvaged. The Navy recovered the painted name plaque from the fantail. It's displayed at the National Museum of Naval Aviation in Pensacola, Florida. Next to it is a restored TDN-1 drone, balsa wood, fabric wings, 30 horsepower engine. The placard explains that this toy changed how navies hunt submarines, that persistent surveillance beats expensive sensors, that simple solutions often work better than complex ones. Visitors walk past it every day. Most don't stop to look. It's just a model airplane, nothing special. But that toy drone and 49 others like it helped win the Battle of the Atlantic, helped keep the supply lines open, helped ensure that men and material reached Europe, helped win the war. And it all started because one destroyer captain didn't throw a ridiculous toy overboard. He kept it. He tried it. He proved it worked. 48 hours later, 2 U-boats were on the bottom of the Atlantic, and the age of unmanned warfare had begun. If this story moved you the way it moved us, please hit that like button right now. Every like tells the algorithm to share this with more people who need to know that the drones hunting terrorists today started with a lawnmower engine and some balsa wood in 1943. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're rescuing forgotten stories from dusty archives every single day. Stories about engineers and sailors who changed warfare with toy airplanes and brilliant thinking. Real people, real innovation, real impact. Drop a comment right now and tell us where you're watching from. Are you watching from Seattle, where Jensen grew up? From the Atlantic coast? From a Navy base somewhere? Our community stretches across the entire world. You're not just a viewer. You're part of keeping these memories alive. Tell us your location. Tell us if you served in the Navy. Tell us if you've worked with drones. Just let us know you're here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for making sure Howard Jensen and the crew of the USS Borie don't disappear into silence. They changed how we fight wars today. They deserve to be remembered, and you're helping make that happen.